It's Todd Nichols.
And Melissa Nichols.
We're back to share some more thoughts with you about anxiety and depression and coping during these challenging times. Go ahead, Melissa.
When I think about these challenging times, I think of 9/11. So, in 9/11, I have a personal story in that my brother was working in the trade tower, and he worked late the night before, and then was going in later that morning, and rode the subway, got off at the stop, and saw one of the towers fall as he got off, and realized that probably many of his friends were dead. And so as we talk about overcoming a difficult time, I think there are some lessons that we can learn from that tragedy in our history about how to overcome. And when I think about that, I think about a story from the New York Times article called Stories That Bind Us. And this is an article that talks about how personal narratives, personal family narratives make a difference in how you overcome a tragedy. We certainly know this at Family Attachment Center. We have developed our own narrative therapy, and so we're well grounded in the use of storytelling as a way to build resiliency. So in that article, Stories That Bind Us, basically what they did is they interviewed people who had survived 9/11, and they talked about how they got over things. One of the things that they found as a strength was that if there was a lot of oral tradition in a family talking about what they'd gone through and how they got through it, what we would call in professional terms a coherent narrative, where you have a beginning of your story, a middle of the story, and an end that gives you peace and calm, that this can form resiliency. And so at this time, what I encourage you to do is to talk to each other. Talk to each other in your family about what you've gone through in the past and how you got over it, because this builds resiliency as a family during a difficult time. In the 9/11 stories, what people commonly said is, this is a horrible, awful thing that's happened to us, but we've gone through really difficult things in the past. You know, we lost our businesses during the Great Depression, and we came out. We survived as a family, and we got stronger. And so thinking about that in your own history can be a great source of encouragement and hope for everyone you encounter.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. And in a previous segment, I talked about cognitive behavioral therapy. And the basis for cognitive behavioral therapy, or the CBT, is that our thoughts influence our feelings and influence our behaviors, all in a mutually influencing way. An important part of that, and it goes along certainly with what Melissa was saying, has to do with the messages that we tell ourselves. For all of us, there is some kind of dialogue going on with ourselves internally most of the time. And one of the first steps of CBT, and one of the first steps I often do with clients in my office, is to help them increase their awareness of their internal messages, what they tell themselves about themselves in different situations, and about the situation itself, and about other people around them, and how likely they are to be successful, etc. So one thing you could do during this time is to monitor yourself for the messages you internally are telling yourself about the fear and danger and anxiety and your own ability to succeed, and God to give you strength, and etc., on and on and on. But be aware of the messages you tell yourself, and also take actions to either stop unhelpful messages that don't help you feel or act in a better way, and to change other messages to more positive messages so that you can develop a base for building yourself up and affirming yourself as a child of God, which we all are, who is worthy and lovable because we're designed by God. And that is something that all of us as Catholics believe, and certainly it is true. So monitor your own internal messages and work on building more affirming messages that affirm your place in God's earth here on us. So that's it for this segment. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, and peace be with you.
God bless.